Good evening. Welcome to the first of two meetings tonight. My name is Dennis Buckley, Mayor of the City of Beech Grove. And at this time, we will convene our Board of Sanitation meeting for Monday, March the 19th, 2018. In lieu of a roll call, I will ask each participant to introduce themselves, beginning on my far right.
Dave Harrison.
Dan McMillan, Clerk Treasurer.
Craig Wiley, City Attorney.
Sandy Seward.
Thank you, Board. You have been presented a printed copy of the minutes of the previous meeting dated Monday, March 5th, 2018. The floor is open for any questions, comments, or corrections.
I have none.
No questions, comments, or corrections. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to.
I second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. This evening, Board, we have 4 pages of wastewater claims in the amount of $110,437.39. Floor is open for any questions or comments.
I have none, thank you.
I have none.
No questions or comments. I'll ask for a motion to approve the wastewater claims dated March 19th, 2018 in the amount of $110,437.39.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. We have no unfinished business to carry over from the previous meeting, and we have no new business tonight. Comments from board members?
I have none.
I have none, thank you.
Motion to adjourn the wastewater meeting.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned at 6:01 PM. Did you hear that?
Some magic tape here. And the third one is from Miller Pipeline. And Miller's bid is $68,739.20. And those are the only 3 sealed bids we have.
All right, thank you, Sandy. Brent, can you or Joe approach and grab our quotes?
I haven't been up here in a while, so I figure I'll talk. We'll take the quotes under review, and at the next Board of Works meeting, have a quote evaluation letter to read to the board, and also have a notice of award in case the board so chooses to go ahead and proceed in that manner. Very pleased with the results.
Beg your pardon?
We're very pleased with the quotes.
Thank you, Brent and Joe. We'll look forward to hearing from you on April the 2nd. All right, that concludes unfinished business. Under new business, we have several items this evening. Number 1 is resolution number 1, 2018, concerning the AIM Medical Trust. And at this time, I'll defer to our city attorney for explanation on the resolution.
Yeah, so IACT has now changed their name to AIM. So there are 4 changes they proposed. The first one's a name change. You'll see that throughout the document. The other one was if the way it's written until it was revised, a large city could step in, like for instance Terre Haute or Evansville, and then if the trust were to dissolve, they would get basically a windfall. So they changed that. All the cities that are in right now, including us, are grandfathered in. And then the other cities have to wait 5 years before they're fully vested. So they don't even get a partial distribution. But the bottom line is we're grandfathered, so we don't have to go through the 5-year cycle. What was the third one I saw? Yeah, the Board of Trustees goes from 12 to 18. And in certain cities, based on their size, again, the larger cities would get a board member on the Board of Trustees. We would have to have ours elected or appointed because of our size. And then the other one is they've retained Umball, which is an accounting firm, to help them with their investments. to help them do safe investments for the trust. Those are the four I saw.
But it has nothing to do with our insurance.
No,
Okay. So, if we, after 3 years, if the city chooses to leave the health insurance,
the withdrawal procedure remains the same.
everything remains the same?
Correct.
Okay.
There are 43 cities right now in the trust. They estimate in the next 3 to 5 years there'll be 80.
Okay. And we have to do this resolution tonight. Does the board have any questions?
I don't.
No.
If not, I'll ask, Dan, could you read this resolution into the record, please?
Resolution number 1, 2018, a resolution presented to the Board of Public Works and Safety for the City of Beech Grove adopting the second amended and restated agreement and declaration of trust of the AIM Medical Trust. Whereas the City of Beech Grove, participating employer, participates in the cooperative health benefit arrangement nationally developed by the Indiana Associations of Cities and Towns, which was previously known as IAC Member Trust, and whereas a participating employer joined the IAC Medical Trust on or about January 1st, 2017. Whereas the IAC Medical Trust was subsequently renamed to AIM Medical Trust, and whereas the trustee of the AIM Medical Trust have authority to amend the agreement and declaration of the trust of the AIM Medical Trust, and whereas the trustee concluded that certain amendments to the amended agreement and declaration of trust of the AIM Medical Trust were appropriate, and whereas the trustee adopted the second amended agreement and declaration of trust of the AIM Medical Trust, a true and accurate copy of which is attached as to Exhibit A, and whereas Section 11.7 of the second amended and restated agreement and declaration of trust requires that a governing body of the participating employer adopts a resolution memorializing the participating employer's adoption of the second amended and restated agreement and declaration of trust of the AIM Medical Trust. And whereas the Board of Public Works and Safety for the City of Beech Grove desires to adopt the second amended and restated agreement declaration of trust of the AIM Medical Trust. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Public Works and Safety for the City of Beech Grove, Indiana, that Section 1, the second amended and restated agreement declaration of trust, a copy of which is attached hereunto as Exhibit A, is hereby adopted by the Board of Public Works and Safety for the City of Beech Grove. Section 2, this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage and receipt of any necessary approvals or any necessary publication if required by law. Passed and adopted by the Board of Public Works and Safety for the City of Beech Grove this 19th day of March 2018.
All right. Board have any questions or comments?
So really nothing's changing within the insurance or a policy. It's basically a name change and trustees and.
Well, they want more flexibility going from 12 to 18 members, stuff like that. And then Umball is gonna be the accounting group they use some investments.
Dave, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution number 1, 2018.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. And here's, here's one here. Oh, damn. Two, we'll keep one, and I'll send one back.
We probably need to keep one with all the amendments.
Yes. I got a clean copy on the amendment attached to it.
Should be just that one page.
That's none of our signatures there.
No, it's,
Missed it. Oh, there it is.
Here's ours, Dan.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Board. Next order of new business is supplement agreement number 1, Churchman Roundabout. And I'll call up consultants from GAI. Scott, Marcia, good to see you, as always.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Scott Hornsby. I'm with GAI Consultants. We're the design consultant on your roundabout at Arlington Avenue, the Churchman Bypass, and the Big 4 Road. I'm here tonight twofold to give you an update on where we stand on the project. I'll do that first. Back on September 19th of 2016, we entered into an agreement with Beech Grove to start the design process on the project. The project is moving forward nicely. We're about 60% complete with our design. We're into the environmental phase. Got that submitted to NDOT. We're waiting for NDOT's review and comments so we could advertise for a public hearing. Looking at probably a late June, early July public hearing. It has to be time for the public to advertise for that and get feedback. But we're also looking at starting appraising. We have 6 parcels of land that are going to be affected by this project, all commercial property. We've been able to design the roundabout in a way where the impacts are not great on any of the parcels. We're not taking any parking. I think there really shouldn't be any controversy around this. I think it fits in nice. It's a good, tight design within the construction budget that we're looking at. So we'll start the appraisal process in about a month, and that'll move through where we start the buying and land acquisition this summer, early fall. We're on schedule to have our stage 3, which is 90% plans, in February of 2019. Ready for contracts, which is NDOT, where you have to have everything turned in 100% to NDOT in May, and we're scheduled for July 2019 letting. That means probably you won't see dirt turning until around September. It takes NDOT about 6 weeks to review the bids and that so forth. So I think that lines up with the MPO funding award of 2020. So we're moving along nicely on that. I'm also here tonight to present an amendment to our agreement. Through the course of design, there's been a few things that were not anticipated up front. We had to do some additional environmental investigation. NDOT has asked us to go out and do some digging within the right-of-way to see if the soils have been disturbed or not. We've done that work. We've done some drainage stuff around your new ordinance you guys adopted, and a few other tweaks to the design. But the big part of this amendment that I'm presenting is for the land acquisition services that were not part of our original agreement. We typically like to wait to get the design progressed so we actually know what impacts we're looking at, because there's a lot of different types of appraisals that need to be done and so forth. So we're at that point where we know, and so we know what the impact is. So I'm here tonight to present supplemental agreement number 1 in the amount of $73,190, which would raise the total amount of our original agreement plus the supplemental to $315,480. And I've got 2 copies here for you to review.
If you go back to page 8.
Yeah, page 8 outlines the additional fees on this,
Yeah.
the column,
Dave, it
supplemental
looks
number
like
1.
this.
Yeah, I got it here.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, here's, before I open it up for question, I wanted to advise the board that when we did the budget, when Dan plugged the numbers in, we plugged in like 360,000 for the roundabout project, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere like that.
That sounds
All right.
about right.
And the reason we did that like that was to anticipate these expenses. So if you look down at the total, we already knew when we put that number together that we were going to be paying 242,000 plus what we didn't know. So, okay, this takes it up to 315,000. So it's not, we need more money. The money's there in the budget. We just don't know what that supplement was gonna cost. So it's not new money that is being it's budgeted money. We just need to fill in how much that is. So, and we are still, the revised fee is still under budget by 45,000. So we just have to see how it works out. But that's the point I wanted to get across tonight. And then the supplemental fee column is the second from the right. And once this one's done, we're getting really close to being completed. So,
So is 45,000 enough of a cushion to be remaining out there for additional incidentals?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we don't anticipate anything additional. Now, there's always, obviously, other things that could pop up, but I think most of the unanticipated items are included in here.
so the big point is not asking for additional money. The money's already there. So we just need to know what it was, what the total amount's gonna be. Now, when the budget gets put together for next year, these folks will have to tell us what the construction cost is plus the inspection. So Dan can plug it into the budget for next year.
Right.
So, and I don't know what that is. Because next
what-
year is when we'll have.
Yeah, once it lets and you have the bids, then the city's required to deposit their 20% into NDOT's account. You won't know that until July,
Yeah, they'll
August.
ask for, NDOT will ask for our check 7
Yeah.
weeks prior to the letting. So, yeah, we're right on it. And another nice investment for the city that will be paid for with the issuance of no debt. So, looking forward to it.
Well, thank you.
Any questions
Any
from
other
board
questions?
members?
Oh, thank you.
I have none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve supplement agreement number 1 concerning the roundabout at Arlington Avenue.
I'll make said motion.
Nice second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Marcia, you have the agreements? Dave, okay.
I gave him.
Oh, there they are.
Right there, though.
Got passed around too many times.
One stays with us and one goes with them. Here, Dan.
Thank you.
I know, I saw that. It's like, what was that? Do you want this dated?
I'm sorry.
Do you want this dated?
Please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dan?
Thank you.
Next order of business is surplus equipment, senior center. Dan, you can read it into the
Yep.
record?
We would like to add our isomatic ice maker to surplus due to the fact the compressor went out. To have it replaced with parts and labor would be more expensive than purchasing a new one. Thank you, Stephanie Bramlett.
Any comments or questions?
None.
Nope.
This will go in the auction in July. Motion to approve the request to surplus ice-o-matic.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Next order of business is surplus of fire department hose. Chief, you want to go through this?
Good evening, Mayor and Board. I would request approval for surplus of the following equipment: 9 50-foot sections of 1 3/4 attack hose, 5 50-foot sections of 2.5-inch high-rise hose, 2 sections of 3-inch supply hose, 2 50-foot sections of 5-inch hose, and 2 sections of 100-foot 5-inch hose. The following items have no value. Listed below is each individual set with the numbers on each. All are greater than 10 years old or damaged beyond safe use.
Okay, floor is open for any questions or comments.
What's usually the lifespan of hoses?
10 years max,
Yeah.
and that's on a set with not a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob.
What's going to happen to the hose?
It's a no value. We really don't want to put in the auction. We don't want anyone to use it because it's just too unsafe. If someone would try to use it or hook up to a hydrant for individual use, we just advise against it and just like to cut off the couplings or get rid of
Just
the
throw
hose.
it away,
Just throw it
Jim?
away.
Save the couplings?
We don't even save the couplings anymore because a lot of this hose is damaged, and the couplings aren't good to save.
Motion to approve the chief's request to surplus the listed hose below.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thanks,
Thank you.
Chief. Next order of business is Master Vendor License Promoters Club, and this is for, here it is, the fireworks display on Saratoga Bolton Park, the Fall Festival on Main Street from 3rd to 7th, September the 11th through the 15th, Cars R Us Car Show, which is September 23rd, 2018. I think that's it. And these are Promoters Club sponsored events. And they have insurance listed, Beech Grove as additional insured. I'll open it up to any questions or comments.
I have no questions.
I have none.
Chief, any questions? All right. If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the license application for the Promoters Club concerning the fireworks display, the Fall Festival, and Cars R Us Car Show.
Make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Also, Board, while we're here, Dan, the last 2 years they used the parking lot.
Yeah, the senior citizens, they used, I think they only do it for the Fall Festival, but they use the electrical box back behind the senior center. And I don't know, we don't charge them anything for it, and they do some work, and so we just kind of call it an even deal.
So we might as well go ahead tonight and approve the Promoters Club using the electricity back there in that parking lot and allowing the carnival workers to park their vehicles back there. So I ask for a motion to approve that.
Make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you, Board. At the last meeting, Dave, we did a conflict of interest for Mike Hughes. Mike is the electrical inspector, and we didn't think it was quite right for him to inspect his own work, so we have, since that last meeting, we have gotten a hold of a company called J.E. Brown. So they are going to be the fill-in electrical inspector when Mike is not available, or when Mike does permit work in the city of Beech Grove. And the gentleman that they'll use is Paul Roth. So what we'll do is, when their service is needed, and I don't think it's gonna be very often, Debbie will get a hold of these folks and call them. So this is not anything for approval. I just wanted to advise the board that this has taken place. He's been sworn in, and we want to make sure that, and Mike's aware of it, so he has no issue with it at all. So this is not an item for approval, so we'll move on. PAO resignations, Police Department. Chief?
Mayor and Board, I am in front of you. I have two resignations for PAO positions. These are the two newest employees that were approved. They work full-time jobs at the Mecca or Downtown Dispatch, and they have not worked for us, but because of their jobs down there and personal reasons, both of them resigned. The first one is Tracy Pompey. She says, due to unforeseen circumstances in my personal life, I will not be able to fulfill my part-time obligation to the Beech Grove Police Department. Therefore, I am submitting my letter of resignation effective immediately. I do appreciate the opportunity and apologize. The second is from Cynthia Miller. This email is to inform you that I will not be able to work part-time for Beech Grove Police. I apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused. After switching to night shift at the beginning of the year, I just don't have time to come into work. Cynthia Miller.
We'll go ahead and approve these separately, but Board, do you have any questions or comments?
I do have a question on Tracy. There's no date. It says effective immediately. Is that today's date, last week, next
Yeah,
week?
both of them are dated 3/19 of 2018.
Thank you.
And I had asked the chief if he could run these people down and get them to sign off on their resignation letter. First one we'll do is Cynthia Miller, motion to accept her resignation letter.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Next one is a motion to approve resignation letter of Tracy Pompey.
The motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Then I'll ask for a motion to allow the chief to fill the vacant position.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thanks, chief.
As soon as I get the signatures, I'll forward them to the clerk, and I'll put them in our personnel file also.
All right. While we're thinking about it, did you want to do that?
Yeah. It's not on the docket tonight, but a request to hire for for my office, clerk treasurer's office. It'll be a part-time position because of a vacancy or resignation, and that will start as of tomorrow and be no more than 29 hours per week. And I think salary ordinance calls up to $13.55, which we're way below that, so, I just ask permission to hire.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Did somebody quit?
Well, somebody's husband didn't want
Oh,
to.
no, that was Chris, wasn't it?
I don't get it. Get them 3 jobs and they still don't want to work.
They don't understand, do they?
Yeah.
So, Dan, do you have a new person in mind?
Yes, her name is Karen, and I don't know her last name. She's filled out the application and, she's accepted the job. She'll start tomorrow. She's just doing 1 day this week, and then next week, her and Pat will switch off. One will do
Okay.
2 days, one will do 3 days.
Thank you.
Request, oh, wait a minute, resignation letter, community center. Dan, could you read this one into the record, please?
Dear Mayor, Clerk Treasurer, Board of Works, as of 3/14/18, Crystal Hamner resigned from her position at Hornet Park Community Center. This is her resignation letter. I really have been stewing over this decision for some time now, but I really feel with my schedule at school, a mom of 2 boys, and just life in general, I am having a hard time finding the time and energy to work at the community center. I have been missing basketball games for my boys, and with baseball season starting next month, we will have tournaments all weekends long. I really feel that as an employee, I am not an asset for you and the gals at the community center. As of 3/14/18, I am stepping out of the position at the community center. I'm sorry, but with my schedule, I am feeling way too stressed and spread too thin to be good at my job and for my family. I do have a few people that were interested in working at the community center, and I would be more than glad to share their info to you if needed. Again, thank you for the opportunity to work with you and some amazing people. Angel McKenna, Hornet Park Community Center.
All right, motion to approve the resignation letter for Crystal Hammer.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. And I'll ask for a motion to allow the vacant position to be filled.
Make said motion.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. And we'll try to get, run down Crystal and get her to sign this letter as well. That concludes new business. Chief, did you have a comment on uniforms or something you wanted to make?
I understand that it wasn't on the docket. I have a request a bill be paid to U.S. Uniform and Supply. This request is for 2 Class A uniform shirts, the buttons that go with it, and also a belt buckle for Class A duty belt.
Okay, I don't,
I really don't understand. This bill was turned in like normal bills are, and when I handed it in, Debbie at the clerk's office told me that she wasn't going to pay it and deny it. I said, it's a regular bill. It will come out of the budgeted item of uniforms. And I turned it in again with a request to be paid. And that request was again denied, this time by the clerk treasurer. I asked for reasons why. And one reason was it was to come out of our clothing allowance and by the contract that was approved by the Board of Works that says any Class A uniform, any Class A equipment, supplies will be paid for by the city out of the police budget, which comes out of the uniform budget. The clerk informed me that it was still not going to be paid, and I then asked our city attorney for an opinion, and I don't want to put words into our attorney's mouth, but he advised me that it should be paid by the clerk, and that's where it stands. The bill I'd like to submit and have it paid by the contract or agreement is being denied being paid to this company.
I'd like to make a couple remarks on this.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How much is the bill?
$141.89
Okay.
Total?
Yes.
total.
First of all, let me clarify, Debbie does not have the authority to deny any bill. I was the one that denied it the first time and the second time.
Now, the first time I took it in and she told me she wasn't going to pay it.
Well, that's because I don't know how she found out about it, but anyway, I was told about it and I told her not to pay that.
No, this was even before. This was when it was
Mark,
initially
I'm
put
not gonna
in.
get into an argument about it. My question to you is, do you get a clothing allowance?
Yes.
Okay. The second thing is, this was, the clothing allowance was adopted under the salary ordinance by the city council, not this Board of Works group. So, I cannot go against the salary ordinance. And as far as I'm concerned, if this board asks me to pay that, you're asking me to violate our salary ordinance, which I will not do.
It's not
So-
salary though, is it?
It's not
It falls
salary.
under the salary
It's
ordinance.
a category three expense, correct?
It's in the category 2 or 3. I'm not sure
But it still
which one
falls
it
under the
is.
salary ordinance. And I gave him an easy out, told him all he would have to do is bring this before the council to have them amend the salary ordinance. We're doing it right now at next, couple weeks meeting for, what was the two things that you didn't put?
SRT.
SRT. And, so it's already on the docket for, the council meeting. It's a very easy fix. But no, I cannot overpay what the salary ordinance calls for. And you get your salary ordinance, or you get your clothing allowance just like everybody else. Shirts are part of your clothing allowance. I don't care if it's Class A, Class B, D, C, I don't care what that is, but it falls under clothing allowance.
Isn't it part of the collective bargaining agreement too?
It is part of the collecting bargaining
I have
agreement.
nothing to do with collective bargaining. That was the mayor and this Board of Works.
I
You
got,
have to comply with it though, right? If the Board of Works passes,
I cannot violate ordinance to do it. So that's the reason why I say.
I don't understand what ordinance you're violating though, that's what I'm saying.
Salary ordinance.
But it's not salary though.
It's not salary.
It goes under clothing allowance and it's listed right in the salary ordinance. He gets the same amount as any person on the police department, provided they're not probationary.
It's $141.
well, is there a
It's
is
not
there a
the
s-
dollar amount, Craig. If it was 25 cents, I'd deny it.
but my question, Dan, is there a certain amount that we have set that they can't go over for that or something?
Yes, it states right in there. I think last year it was $800, $400 each pay period. I believe this year is $900 we give them, $450 each 6 months
For each employee?
for each employee.
And this is this is 141
$141.89,
for how many employees?
just for one.
It's just for one
For
person.
one person. Well, I guess how was that 141, how was it overlooked?
It was never overlooked. It's a bill that was for the 2 shirts and buttons and a belt buckle that for Class A uniform. And by contract, the agreement is that any Class A uniform that is determined to be replaced, the bill is turned in and it's paid out of uniforms. which is a budgeted item. It's not, doesn't have to come out of the clothing allowance. But I can tell you that a rough guesstimate last year, I spent $845 for uniforms and for dry cleaning. That's 2 shirts, the patches on the shirts, shoes, 1 pair of pants, and Class A buttons. And that doesn't include more pants that I'll go through, 5 or 6 pair of pants a year, and probably 3 to 6 pair of shirts, a coat, and buttons and holsters. So it's the clothing allowance does not cover that, but this is a different item covered by the contract that was approved, that any Class A uniform or accessories for Class A can be covered out of the budget.
And I'll agree with you, the accessories should be paid, but the shirts should not.
Can I ask a simple question? Do we have a police officer out there that needs a shirt?
I can, if you'd like, I can explain how it came to be in the contract and what it is.
I mean, if we have a police officer out there that needs a uniform that we require him to wear along with a belt, you have to have that to do his job.
And we pay them
I agree. And what we
uniform
did,
allowance
Sandy,
every year.
was during the contract negotiation, we talked about different things to benefit both the city and the officers. And there was a clause with the fire department they had developed where they were getting some equipment that became determined they needed this equipment in addition to the clothing allowance, that if this equipment specific to them broke down, it would be just replaced as needed, not part of the clothing allowance. So when we discussed it, the mayor said, is there equipment that could fall into this? Now, I'll tell you, like the uniform that the chief is wearing, the uniform the deputy chief wears, this is the uniform that would be replaced as needed by the city per our agreement now, in addition to the clothing allowance. This uniform that I wear, which is our daily wear uniform, is 100% funded by the clothing allowance. When we got hired on, every officer had to come out of their own pocket in the first year if they wanted to wear this uniform. Most of them don't wear this uniform that he's wearing because that uniform isn't quite as functional on the road. So when they asked us about it, we said, well, the Class A is the baseline required uniform. And so the agreement was, well, if something malfunctions on the Class A uniform, the shirt, the belt, the pants, anything like that, any part of that belt that he's wearing, it would be replaced as needed. And what that means is, so if I have a Class A uniform that I'm wearing, the holster goes bad on it, which they will do after several years, or a shirt gets ripped wearing it and you get in a fight and the shirt of that Class A uniform gets ripped, you show your supervisor and your supervisor says, yes, that shirt is no longer good, it needs to be replaced. So we're talking, it's going to be, I couldn't even tell you how often that's going to be because there's generally, 6 or 7 guys that wear it on a daily basis?
Yes, if that many.
Yeah, the uniform that we're talking about is worn by 6 officers daily. The rest of us wear it 5 times a year, if that. But we are required to have it and have it at the ready at any time. And so when we did the contract, we have stipulated in our contract a uniform allowance check to be issued twice a year or however he sees fit, I believe. But it says further, the city agrees to provide each non-probationary police officer at no cost of their own properly functioning police gear as specified below. And it lists a long list of basically everything that encompasses the Class A uniform. It says replacement equipment for all of the above as needed per equipment inspections or expiration date of that item. The expiration date would be for our pepper spray and for our vests, which expire every 5 years. Like myself and Officer Shipley, we're hitting our 10-year. Next year, we have to get new vests. Or I'm sorry, our 10-year next month, we have to get new vests. So this just makes sure that it's a function required by the city. It is not part of our clothing allowance check. It is not part of salary. Like, I don't know how, if he submits a $140 bill for uniform items that need to be submitted, what are you gonna put it on his check stub as part of the clothing allowance out of salary? It's a uniform replacement. That's what that part is. It's a uniform replacement. I'm sorry, Dan, you're wrong.
Well, I disagree with you.
Why
I mean,
wouldn't we have, I mean, kinda like the bid tonight, we had 360,000 sitting there, we were using 350, why wouldn't we have a little more in this budget so we could get through a
We
year?
have plenty of money in the uniform part of the budget. We're not moving any more money. There's approximately $6,000 in our uniform budget. And this is to outfit Class A uniforms to officers that need them. New officers, old officers, however you want to consider it. Uniforms is for uniforms.
And you're saying that's not the way it's worded?
what actually happened on this uniform budget, the reason why it was 6,000 was because they were supposed to hire new police officers. In doing that, the city outfits them all the way. And so what actually happened, they didn't hire these new police officers, and so that money was in there, and now, you know, there's always a little extra because you never know what's gonna happen, something break, whatever. I don't disagree with that. But when you're buying shirts with it, that's part of the uniform. I think if you asked anybody that wore a uniform, shirts would be included in it.
It doesn't matter what you think, it matters what the city negotiated.
I don't care what city negotiated.
I know
That's-
you don't care
that's
about
over
union
and above me.
contracts,
Remember
but
you
they
2 or 3
approved a union
times told me
contract
you didn't
negotiated by the mayor.
negotiate that with me.
Because you are not part of that process.
And I don't
You
want
write
to be
the
part
checks
of
and
that
that's it.
process. But the problem
He
is,
negotiated a contract, that's what he offered, and the Board of Works approved it. It was discussed with the council in an open council meeting.
Well, go
They
to
all
the-
had an opportunity to read
go
it.
to the council and amend
And
the
ask them
ordinance.
for what? More salary for what? It's not salary.
It is a clothing allowance.
It is
and
not salary and it is not part of the clothing allowance check. Anyone who's read it, it's pretty clear.
Well, it's not to me, so.
Well, I'm sorry you don't understand it.
Well, I'm sorry
you're not
that you think
comprehending
you
it.
do
That's unfortunate.
understand it.
I'd like to make a motion, we pay the bill for $114 and
Wait a
move
minute.
forward.
141.89.
$141.89.
Hang on a
We
minute.
have to give our officers what they need.
We can only pay, or we can only approve for payment what is presented to us. So if it's not on this docket, we can't approve the payment. However, we can make a motion to recommend that this be paid.
I make a motion, we recommend this invoice to be paid for $140 and
141.89.
$141.89.
That's second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries.
Okay.
But I also think we should have make it clear in the ordinance or the, whatever this is, that this doesn't happen again. That it's clarified some way to pay, I don't care whether it's a shirt or your underwear.
Well, it's just part of the
If
Class
it's
A.
part of the,
It's part of the Class A uniform that a supervisor finds a uniform that's not appropriate. This kind of uniform is also worn to funerals. That's what we're required to go to a funeral, to other special events. If it doesn't look good, we don't represent correctly. So that's the reason they get inspected twice a year.
Dave, if you would like to, can you carry this to the April 2nd council meeting?
sure,
Okay.
because I think there just needs to be some kind of clarification somewhere that,
Okay. All
Craig,
right.
are you able to put together something that says where it should be? I mean, what's the appropriate place for it to come out of the budget? I mean, I know we've talked about it, but it sounds like you've told him and he disagrees, so
Well, I just tell you right now, and I'll tell the board, I respectfully disagree and will not pay this without council
then we
moving
will go to
forward
our
on it.
attorneys and we'll go from
That's
there.
fine.
I don't want the city to have to spend money on something dumb. But if that's where we're at, I mean,
No,
I've
that's
already,
where
I've
we're at
already
as far as
spoken to the
I'm concerned.
FOP.
Why don't you just
And
pay them
it's a
to protest?
violation of our
Pardon me?
contract.
Just pay for it under protest. You've done that in the past.
I have done that in the past,
It's
but I want
it's
the
gonna be a violation
council's
of our contract. I've
approval.
already spoken to Leo. It's
Well,
gonna cost the city money.
I
It's gonna
cannot
cost the city.
violate.
So
the
you're not
ordinance.
violating,
I
you're
am
wrong.
violating. It says I can only give him up to $800, up to $900,
No, it
whatever
does
it is.
not. If you
Yes,
read
it
the
does.
whole thing and quit
Okay.
trying to make a political point about it.
I'm not making
You don't like
anything
it. You
political.
don't like that the contract was negotiated before the budget. This is all part of your little political plan.
Well, if that's the case, Nathan, why did I just pay the fire department tonight for repairs on uniforms that they had?
So why are you
Because
not
it
doing
fell
it for
down.
us? So
Huh?
you're doing it for the fire department, you're not doing it for us.
Because it's shirts, which is
Oh,
uniforms.
come on. You don't
There
care,
ain't
you're
no
playing
come
politics.
on. You know what? As a
Politics.
citizen, I'm appalled that he's even asking for this money.
All right,
And as a citizen, I'm appalled you're making a political statement.
Thank
we're gonna
you.
move on. Comments from board members?
I have none.
I have none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
The meeting is adjourned at 6:58 PM. We will convene again on Monday, April the 2nd. Thank you.